You've been sold a version of success that doesn't even align with who you are, and that is why you're often exhausted, unfulfilled, and stuck in a cycle of overwhelm. Let's be real, many of the goals that many of us are trying to achieve aren't even things that we want. They're things that have been put upon us by society, by our community, by our family and friends. And it's time for us to get back to the core of who we are and actually what we want to fulfill and get out of the hustle culture mindset and instead actually tangibly learn how to make decisions easier, learn how to actually align our daily actions with what we want to fulfill in our lives, and also learn how to do it in a sustainable way so that we're not overwhelmed, so that we're not burning out. And I'm going to be giving you all of that in today's episode. I'm all about helping you reclaim your time so that you can make decision making, goal setting, and the path you need to actually choose for your life much simpler and easier. And today I'm going to give you the cheat code because this is something I do not hear people talking about often. And once you hear it, you're going to be like, oh wow, how could I have never thought of this? It's going to be the biggest aha moment you probably ever had in one of my podcast episodes. It's going to be very simple and seamless on how you can learn how to identify your core values so that you can align your life and your career with your core values. Because the missing piece between why you're unfulfilled and why you feel exhausted and why you feel overwhelmed oftentimes is you're not living up to your core values because you don't even know what they are. And I promise you, I'm not going to take you through some boring exercise that you might have done in the past in another coaching program or in the workplace or even in school. I'm going to give you a really easy, tangible, simple way to identify your core values, and I'm going to give you ways in which you can learn how to filter what you're doing day to day with those core values. Hey, welcome back to the Fire Inside podcast, the podcast for high achieving, ambitious women who want to reclaim 10 or more hours a week to grow their career, stay consistent, and make time for what matters the most without burning out. I'm your host, Sade Kelly, time management coach, wife and mom, and lover of all things wellness and living your best life. So I'm really excited to get in today's episode because I myself used to be a bit of a hustler, okay? I used to think hustling was the way to actually achieve my goals. Like many of you watching, you probably grew up listening to Gary Vaynerchuk, Sean Thomas, like all of these people who were like sleepers for suckers. You need to be working and working hard, especially if you're like in your early 20s. That was like the time when everybody made it seem like that was the time to grind and work because you were going to lose all your energy in your 30s. And I will say I have lost some energy in my 30s, but I will also say that in my 20s, I did spend a lot of time hustling and it led to me burning out. And what I've learned is I could have used that same passion and energy in a different manner in order to actually align myself with what I value and also what I wanted to achieve in a more sustainable way, and not in a way where I was getting to the end of the week and I was completely drained or I was frustrated because I felt so behind, even though I was like pushing myself, like feeling the exhaustion, feeling my eyes closing, but still pushing myself to keep going, keep going, keep going. And I think there is something to say for hustling. I think it does get you to a certain point. Many of us have heard so many influencers online talk about the benefits of hustling. And I think sometimes you are in a season where you may have to hustle a bit more, but I don't think it's sustainable to always be hustling, especially if you're doing it just because you see others doing it who seem to have success. Because one of the most common themes that I hear even from my clients is that it looks like all these high achieving, ambitious people have all of the things that you want from the outside, right? But we always have to remember there's always things going on behind the scenes that is shifting and changing and impacting people that we don't know about. So in my hustling era, I just thought, okay, if I hustle, I can have the life like her or like him or like what it looks like, the family like them, or the career like that person, not realizing that all of those things that I was chasing were all things that I thought I was supposed to have. Because growing up, I've told this story in the podcast before, so I'm not going to go into depth, but pretty much growing up, I was always like encouraged based on my merits. So like I was like intelligent, I'm putting air quotes, I was actually intelligent, but it was like I was told I was intelligent so much that it started to become like this badge of honor. It started to become my whole personality. I was like, okay, I'm someone who's intelligent, I'm an A student, I'm someone who's successful, I'm someone who does not fail, I'm someone who always has amazing grades. And what that ended up doing was putting all this pressure onto me to always be hustling, pushing past any and every challenge. And has it gotten me certain level of success? Yes. But it's gotten me also all these other detrimental factors where I became a perfectionist, where I also became a procrastinator because I put so much pressure on myself that I thought, okay, I work well under pressure, so I might as well procrastinate. I might as well do things last minute because it's gonna come out great anyway because that's just who I am. So in some instances, you can see how it's positive, like you can achieve a lot with this mindset, but at the same time, this mindset is detrimental because you are striving to always be at 100, always be the top, always be the best. And if you aren't, it kills your whole self, like not just your ego, but it makes you feel like you are less of a person, like you are not adequate, that you are not enough, when all of that is false. And what I really want to go into today is why you can shift that mindset and why it's important to shift that mindset so that way you can actually align what you're doing with what you actually want to be doing and not with you think you should be doing or what people told you should be doing or the characteristics that were put on you. I want you to go back to the root of who you are. So if you are tired of glorifying hustling, if you're anything like me and you hustled your way into the top internship, the top school, the top career, into having an amazing business, and you're now like, okay, I hustled my way into all these things that I don't even feel fulfilled doing. That is the worst feeling, to be working so freaking hard and then you're not even happy. Like, come on. I'm not saying you have to be happy all the time, but it's like you want to have a base level of contentment. Because if you don't define your success for yourself, somebody else will, and you probably won't like where that level of success takes you. The first thing I want you to do is do an audit. I really like to do an audit of my values. So if you've never done an exercise with your values, or even if you have done one before, I want you to take some time, because you probably haven't done one in a while if you're watching this episode, and actually reflect. I want you to journal and write down, what do I want my life to look like? Like, just free write it out. I recommend writing it out versus typing it out. Just write it out. What do I want my life to look like? What am I chasing right now that doesn't actually matter to me? Like, these are the types of questions where you ask yourself, and the initial response is going to be like, I don't know. But then once you just start writing, like, it all comes out. I remember I took a writing class, and the teacher would even tell us, like, even if you're thinking, I don't know, write it out. Like, write out, I don't know. And like, as you keep writing and moving, the answers will come to you, because I promise you, you have these answers inside you. And then the last question I want you to think about is, what would I do differently if I wasn't afraid of judgment? And this is a big one. This is a deep one, where I want you to reflect on, if no one was judging me, if I didn't feel like I was comparing myself to others, if I didn't feel like I cared about what other people thought of me, even my closest people, because sometimes we don't care about what outside forces think of us, but we care about like what our spouse thinks of us, what our kids think of us, what our friends and family, like the people closest to us think of us. If you didn't even think about their opinions, which I know is kind of hard to even put your mindset into, but let's say you didn't even care about their opinions, what would you be doing? Like, really write out like what you would be doing, how you'd be feeling, how you'd be approaching your life, and just let yourself free write. There's no right or wrong here. The whole point of this is just to get it out so you can start to see some patterns in what you're writing. And then the last question I want you to think about is, what are values that you've seen in others that you admire that you really like? So do you see that people are super honest, or they love to learn, or they're very loving and caring, or they're very successful, or they're wealthy? Like, what are the values that you see in other people that you admire? And I just want you to write them out and write out why you admire them and why you like these values. And we're going to start to look at these things and start to realize what values are already standing out. The next thing I want you to do is actually take a values in action quiz. So I'm gonna leave the link under this video. If you're listening on the podcast, it will be linked in the show notes. And the values in action quiz is really interesting, and I like it because it's a quick quiz, and maybe it take you like 10 minutes if you're anyone like me and it's so easy for you to answer the questions because you know yourself pretty well. If you're not like that, it may take you maybe like 20-25 minutes, but I promise you it's not going to take you more than like 25 minutes to answer these questions. But it's a series of questions, and the whole point of it is to pick out your strongest strengths, and that will start to determine your values. So I want you to go ahead, take the values in action quiz, and then after you take the quiz, it's a free quiz. I know some of y'all can be like, how much are I gonna pay for this quiz? It's a free quiz. It gives you free results. It gives you the breakdown for free. Now, if you want like in-depth breakdown, which I don't think you really need, then you can pay for it if you would like to do that. But I took it and I started to see all the different perspectives and strengths that I had, and I was like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. I started to see patterns and like a alignment with my values. The next thing you're gonna do is look at a list of values. I really love the list by Brene Brown. I think it's not too long, but not too short, and it encompasses a lot of different values. So I'm gonna also link that values list in the show notes so you guys can check that out. But after you've done the reflection and you've answered those questions, you'll start to see certain patterns in alignment. Then you're going to go ahead and take the quiz and you're going to see, okay, some of these things are starting to line up with each other. This is exactly what I saw. I did this exercise just a couple days ago to have a refresh and make sure my values were still in alignment, and they certainly were. And actually one of them changed, so I'm excited to kind of share that with you guys. But then after I've done the reflection exercise, then I've done the quiz, the last thing I want you to do is look at this values list. So you're gonna go ahead, download Brene Brown's list, and then look at all the different values on this list. And I want you to just pick out your top ones. For some people, they're gonna be able to pick out their core 5. I was able to pick out like my core 5, and I was like, okay, this is it. For some people, you may need to pick out like 10 of them. So you could start with doing that. Pick out like 10 core values from the list. And then look at them and see which ones kind of line up with each other. So I realized like some of like my love for learning also aligned with like my love for growth. So I went with growth because I feel like growth encompasses learning as well. And then my love for like health and wellness also lined up with like overall a value of well-being. So then I was like, okay, but well-being will be my core one. So the cool thing about this exercise is that you're just picking out words that align with you, and you're seeing which ones kind of sync up into one so that you can come up with your top 5 core values. So I will go ahead and share mine just to give you guys like an idea of what core values look like and how I define them. So my top 5 core values are well-being, freedom, growth, honesty, and love. After looking over the list, doing my reflection, doing my assessment with the values and action quiz, these are the top 5 that I came up with, and it just makes so much sense with who I am. So what I did was, after I determined what my core values were, I put definitions next to them. So I asked ChatGPT, like, if my core value is well-being, what does that mean? And you can also just Google this, or you can look in a dictionary, however you want to get the definition is up to you. But it was nice to like see, okay, well-being, a person who is healthy, has a fulfilling job, enjoys spending time with loved ones, and feels optimistic about the future. Freedom, the power of the right to act, speak, or think as someone who wants or has the power of self-determination attributed to their will. Honesty, speaking the truth, more broadly presenting oneself in a genuine way. Growth, continuous improvement, learning and development. Love, valuing close relations with others, in particular those in which your sharing and caring are reciprocated, and being close to people. Genuine care and concern for the well-being of others. And when I looked at the definition, not just the words, I started to see like, okay, this is exactly who I am at my core, and these are like my top values. It doesn't mean I don't have other values, because some of us are going to be like, this doesn't encompass my whole personality. That is not the point. The point is, these are the 5 things that mostly drive you in your life, and you can start to see how these core values play out in everything that you do, whether it's your life, or your personal life, or your work life. And the thing I want you to do next is write these core values down. Have them listed like how I just read off mine, have the definitions next to them. Maybe you want to print them out and have them up in your office. I think that's something I'm going to do next, like have them on my desk, maybe have them somewhere up in my bedroom, but have them maybe even on my desktop, just to remind yourself of the things that matter most to you, so you can start to think through and how you can filter everything that you're making decision-wise, the goals you're setting, the path that you want to take. Does it align with your 5 core values? Because when you start to think like that, life becomes much easier and simpler to make decisions. Now, of course, I'm always going to say you always want to make sure that you are praying on things, giving yourself time and space to hear from God, to see if this is actually what's in alignment with what you want to be doing. Because at the end of the day, we can take all the actions, we can make all the plans, but what comes to fruition for us is all based on what God has planned for us. But I will say that having your core values does help out a lot in terms of like the decisions you make day to day, and figuring out with what you're doing actually aligns with things that actually fulfill you. So another thing I would love for you to do is go into ChatGPT and ask it, what are ways in which I can filter my life through these 5 core values? And then list out the core values. You can even include the definitions if you want to, and it will start to pose all these different questions that you can ask yourself, like, to think through, like, if this decision makes sense with my core value of well-being. Does this decision make sense with my core value of freedom? Does this decision make sense with my core value of love? If it doesn't, then I shouldn't be doing this thing. Do the clients that I attract and the marketing that I put out there align with my core value? If they don't, then I shouldn't work with this person. If this post doesn't, then I shouldn't post it. If this person that I'm going on a podcast with doesn't align with the values that I have, now that is not someone I want to be around. Even if it's like the top podcast in the world, right? Do you really want to be on it if it doesn't align with the core values or even the core values of your business? If you're a business owner, I would even encourage you to write out your core values for your business. So this is your personal core values. You may have different core values for your business. Now mine are very similar. Like my business is very much aligned with who I am. Like I am very big on well-being and love and freedom and managing your time really well, being honest. Like all of those things align with what I have as a career. But if that's not the case for you, I would also write down what are your core values for your business. Like this is going to help you come up with even just your mission statement. I will link the mission statement episode that I did because I talked a lot about how to determine your why. And if you know your why as well as your core values, having those two synced up is going to help you so much in life. One of the things my clients love that we go through very early on in like module 1 is their mindset, right? We go through actually determining their core values so that they can figure out, okay, what are the mindset shifts that I need to make? What are the core values that I need to identify so I can start filtering how I spend my time intentionally through these values, because that is what is going to help you feel fulfilled. Many of us are busy with doing the absolute most. We have these long to-do lists. We're even achieving amazing things, but we're feeling empty. And it's because we don't know ourselves deep enough. We don't know our core values. We don't know our why. We don't know our mission statements. We don't know our mindset patterns. And that was one of the things that through working with clients, I realized was the big missing piece. So I had to help my clients do this. And now it's something all of my clients love. It's something they don't expect from a time management coach. It's probably something they've never seen other time management coaches do. At least I haven't seen it. And it is something that makes my program of Overwhelm to Organize different than any other time management personal development program that you've ever seen on the internet. And I'm not just saying that, I am bragging on it because it's true and I'm passionate and I really believe in what I do. So I hope that you guys enjoy this episode. I want you to go ahead as your action item, go ahead, answer those journal prompts, take that quiz, and then write out your core values. If you want to come back to this video, include your core values in the comments. I would love to see that. If you know your core values and you would love to share them with me, I would love to see that. Otherwise, I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. And as always, if you would love to work with me, I would love to see if we're a good fit. You can go ahead and apply for coaching through the link in the show notes, or you can check out any of my other free and downloadable resources in the show notes as well. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the podcast, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple. I am so thankful for you guys tuning in every week. And if you know someone else that you want to see succeed, if you know someone who's been saying they've been feeling unfulfilled, they want to have a more fulfilling life, more intentional life, they want to really know themselves deeper because they know that once they do that, they can live more intentionally, please go ahead and share this episode. Sharing is caring. And it's also one of my core values, you guys, showing love to others. So go ahead and share this episode with 5 people that you love, that you know should be living more in alignment. And you know that helping them identify their core values would make their life easier because they'll be able to make better decisions, know what path to go on, and just overall be more joyful. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care. Bye.